There was once a bird that lived in great numbers on a small island in the Indian Ocean. Today, all that remains are a few drawings, museum specimens, and historical records. That bird was the dodo. For centuries, the dodo has been portrayed as a slow and foolish animal. Many stories claimed that its own weakness and lack of intelligence led to its extinction. But is that really true? The reality is far more complex. For millions of years, the dodo survived successfully in its natural environment. It was perfectly adapted to life on its island and faced virtually no major threats. So what happened? How did a species that thrived for so long disappear from the earth in just a few decades? In this documentary, we will explore the complete story of the dodo, its origins, evolution, lifestyle, and ultimate extinction. More importantly, we will discover why the dodo's disappearance was not simply the result of being slow or defenseless, but the consequence of a unique combination of evolution, isolation, and human activity. This is the story of one of the most famous extinctions in history. To understand the story of the dodo, we must travel back millions of years to the isolated island of Mauritius. Mauritius was formed by volcanic activity beneath the ocean floor. Over time, volcanic eruptions created a remote island covered with dense forests and surrounded by vast stretches of ocean. For millions of years, the island remained completely isolated from the rest of the world. There were no large predators, no dangerous mammals, and very little competition for food. It was a unique environment where wildlife could thrive without many threats. Scientists believe that around 4 million years ago, a pigeon-like bird was blown off course during a storm and eventually reached Mauritius. This unexpected arrival marked the beginning of the dodo's story. Once on the island, these birds found an abundance of food and a safe environment. They no longer had to struggle constantly for survival. Over many generations, they gradually adapted to their new home. As thousands of years passed, their bodies began to change. They grew larger and heavier because there were no predators to escape from. Flying became less important. Their wings became smaller, and they eventually lost the ability to fly. This process is known as island gigantism, an evolutionary phenomenon in which animals living in isolation become significantly larger than their mainland relatives. Over time, these pigeon-like birds evolved into a completely new species, the dodo. Standing about 3 feet tall and weighing up to 40 pounds, the dodo looked very different from its ancestors. Its strong legs, large hooked beak, and rounded body gave it a unique appearance. Although unusual in appearance, the dodo was perfectly adapted to life on Mauritius. For thousands of years, it thrived on the island and faced very few threats to its survival. At this point in history, the dodo had no reason to fear anything, but that peaceful existence was about to change forever. For thousands of years, the dodo lived in an environment unlike almost anywhere else on Earth because it had no natural predators to fear. Its life was peaceful and secure. While most birds must constantly remain alert for danger, the dodo spent much of its time searching for food, wandering through the forest, and caring for its young. The dodo was primarily a ground-dwelling bird. Its strong legs allowed it to travel long distances through the dense forests of Mauritius. Although it could not fly, there was little reason for it to do so. Food was abundant, and threats were virtually non-existent. Scientists believe that the dodo fed on fallen fruits, seeds, nuts, roots, and other plant material found on the forest floor. Its large, hooked beak likely helped it break apart tough fruits and access nutritious food sources. Food availability on the island changed with the seasons. As a result, the dodo may have stored fat during periods of abundance, helping it survive when food became less plentiful. The dodo's nesting habits were also shaped by its safe environment. It built its nest directly on the ground and laid its eggs in locations that required very little protection. For countless generations, this strategy worked perfectly because there were no predators on the island that regularly hunted its eggs. Over time, the dodo lost many of the behaviors that animals need to survive in dangerous environments. It no longer needed to be fast, highly alert, or constantly prepared to escape from threats. Historical accounts suggest that the dodo showed very little fear when encountering unfamiliar animals. It had never evolved to recognize large animals or humans as potential dangers. Ironically, the very traits that helped the dodo thrive for thousands of years would eventually become its greatest weakness. The dodo had no way of knowing that new visitors would soon arrive on the shores of Mauritius, visitors who would change its world forever. By the middle of the 17th century, the dodo had become increasingly rare. The arrival of humans had changed Mauritius forever. Forests were cleared for timber and settlement. Introduced animals such as rats, pigs, dogs, cats, and monkeys preyed upon dodo eggs and chicks. The bird's once safe environment had become a dangerous place. Unlike animals that evolved alongside predators, the dodo had no natural defenses against these new threats. It could not fly away, and it had never developed the fear necessary to avoid danger. As the years passed, the dodo population continued to decline. Fewer nests survived each breeding season, and fewer young birds reached adulthood. Then, around 1662, the last confirmed sighting of a dodo was recorded. In less than a century after humans arrived on Mauritius, a species that had survived for millions of years vanished forever. Today, the dodo has become one of the most famous symbols of extinction in human history. But the story of the dodo is not simply about a bird that disappeared. It is a reminder of how fragile, isolated ecosystems can be, and how quickly human activity can alter the natural world. The dodo was not stupid. It was not weak. It was a species perfectly adapted to a world that suddenly changed. Its extinction serves as a warning that once a species is lost, it can never truly be brought back. More than 300 years later, the dodo continues to teach us one of the most important lessons in conservation: protecting wildlife before it is too late. The dodo may be gone, but its story will never be forgotten.